Hey everybody, welcome to Café Grit. Today's special is a guest appearance by none other than Trisha Lewis, author of The Mystery of the Squash Self and host of the Make It Real podcast. Grab a menu, take a seat, let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to Café Grit, the place to go when you've got a hankering for purpose, a taste for fulfillment, and you're tired of living the rat race. I'm your host, Beth and Campbell. Thanks for stopping by. Café Grit is now open for service. Hey everybody, welcome to Café Grit. I am your host, Beth Ann Campbell, and I am over the moon delighted today to have as my guest Trisha Lewis, Unsquasher Extraordinaire, communication coach, actor, a host of the Make It Real podcast, and author of The Mystery of the Squash Self. Welcome, Trisha Lewis, to the Café Grit podcast.
Oh, well, I also am thrilled. I mean, we've been sort of connecting with each other for a while now. It was one of those sort of eyes over the LinkedIn room, and they met, and yeah,
The music in the background. Ta-da.
yeah.
Well, I'm going to add to the descriptors of all of the things that you do that you are a pretty darn good dancer too. I was watching one of your recent videos with the Pet Shop Boys, and you got some rhythm there, girl. You got some.
Not bad for an old bird, as they say.
No, you're great. You're great. I love it. I'm a big fan of the 60-second dance party. Occasionally I'll just, kind of wing it and do a little, it feels good. Makes you feel good. Well, before we jump into all things details, so Trisha, for our audience, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you do right now? What makes your heart sing in your career, and give us a little background.
Yeah, well, that's a lovely way to put it. What makes my heart sing? I tell you what doesn't make my heart sing is attempting to do a really concise introduction about what I do. That makes my heart like sink.
Oh.
I'm really good at help. I'm so good, Beth, at helping other people do this. I will, I will actually pick myself up for this. It's one of the things I do as a coach. But yeah, so yes, I am. We could start by saying I'm a communication coach, but I'm not 100% happy with that description because it's a bit vague. I mean, communication is huge and coach is huge. So let's pare it down a bit. So from a background as an actor, a speaker, but not in the business world originally, and a number of other portfolio career things that sort of all had communication involved. I, having done a also degree as a mature student, yeah, one of those.
It's so mature, I can't even say
it. Which was also communication, so that was a lot of the psychology of it and all of the creative writing as well. It was a real mix. So I ended up thinking, slay the demon that is business world and actually do start a business. So I'd been self-employed for decades, but not as a business. It was more in the creative kind of So when I did that, I incorporated everything that I knew from all of this stuff that I'd collected. And then what happened was I started to work with people on fairly basic stuff like presentation skills and getting themselves on video and how to get more confident and brainstorming their business message and just all sorts of things, how to get that out there. But the repeated message that I was getting was that they were rather like me in so much as they had all these various barriers going on, which were pretty self-inflicted. And so as I went through that journey of setting a business up and having like 1,001 demons come flying at me right in my face, I thought, let's delve down into this a little bit more. So I kind of began to create a few sort of, like frameworks, ways of working with people. So the Unsquasher stuff has become almost the foundational sort of level of what I do with primarily small business owners, to be honest, and let's be honest, primarily women.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Yeah.
Right, exactly. Well, I don't know, in a world that is not dominated at all by women and doesn't cater to women in that respect, I'm not surprised at all. I love that the evolution of your creativity, that you still bring that in to what you do now. So, and I could tell you, I get a lot of recommendations for, I'll just generalize, the personal development help type books, and I read a few of them, and a lot of them are sitting on my lovely new wall of shelves. But I am so looking forward to your book. I can't even tell you, just because of um just the fun that you bring into your general persona, your whatever you do. Like you said, it's kind of an evolution of all of that creativity, and I'm a big fan of creativity. But let me ask you this: Do you? I mean, do you? Did you struggle with all of the things that you know, the same things that we
Yeah.
do, the inner critics, the imposters
Yeah.
and nervous?
And
Yeah,
oh yeah. I mean, like hugely, and I really have to underline this a lot, because people see, this is the whole "you can't judge a book by a cover" thing, isn't it? People see, I'm an actor, so people see a sort of confident
sure. Yep.
presence in terms of all of that, and they just almost can't believe that there could ever be any little sort of fear thing, and it's absolutely not the case. And you will find actually a lot of actors do tell stories of how they were kind of shy and awkward and self-conscious and all sorts of things.
Sure.
So you shouldn't make that assumption, and in fact you should never make assumptions, because people's persona in certain situations, it happens to be what I'm good at. Okay, it just happens to be like somebody good at IT, woodwork, skiing. I don't get performance is what I am good at. It's my skill. It's what I've learned, and it's a craft that I've worked on for decades. Duh. Here we are. Okay.
Well, I think
Ah,
this
yeah.
my show is called Cafe Grit, and I think you are a a great example of grit, because grit can mean many things, but you put your whole heart and soul in whatever you do, and I think you're very authentic too. I hate that word. I wish we could come up with a better word than authentic, because it's such a buzzy word, but it's true that you're generally positive, but you're not fake, right? You're woo woo, everything's great, the world's perfect. There's a reality and an authenticity in what you do. But you're also fun and creative too. So that's why I love, and that's why I'm so looking forward to your book. So let's talk about the book. Now this is we're recording this just before it's being released. Yes, I know. How first of all, I have to ask, as having gone through this myself a year ago, how excited are you about this?
I am excited. I'm also quite looking forward to having a few more compartments available in my brain that that
Clear it
aren't to
out.
do
Gotta do a little
with the
house
book.
cleaning. Where's my duster? I need to
Yeah.
shovel. Sometimes it's a shovel. I need to shovel what's in my.
Because it is a bit all consuming, isn't it? I
Oh
mean,
yeah, yeah.
that, and it sort of gathers momentum. And I'm not a natural sales person, although of course that could be unwrapped by lovely people like Jules White, who would
Sure.
say, come on, it's a
Right.
human thing, it's not. Yeah.
But I know
So
what you mean, because I don't
yeah.
like sales either. Some people would say the same. It's just an icky feeling to me, just from experience. Although I know
So
so many wonderful salespeople now, though.
I know, and the thing is, that means that I do make life quite difficult for myself, because the only way that I can talk about this book is to provide the various sort of resources and kind of tips and all the rest of it that connect with the book. So it's like a value giving promotion,
Right.
and that's hard work. So you say has been a bit obsessive for quite a while now, but yeah, I am excited. I am about to get my hands on the actual book either today or tomorrow. I've held
Oh,
back, and so there will be many unveiling videos going on all over
oh,
the
good. I
place.
love those. I love those.
But yeah, it's very, very exciting, because it's exciting because I worked hard at it, and you'll understand this. It's like, if I just kind of thrown it together a bit and got away with it, top 10 presentation tips, from a communication coach, it wouldn't be so exciting, because I'd be kind of thinking, could have done better. This has got, like you said, this has got my heart and soul in it, and it's built on the conversations that I've had with so many people. So that sense that I know it's going to resonate is like, because that the best possible outcome. Nobody does this money. You do it for losing money. It's a really good way to lose money, to write a book, but you don't. So the best outcome really is that is the reviews that say, this really resonated. Thank you. I get it. I'm not alone. Now I can see the light, and I can take these steps to work for it. That's what I want.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's funny because I, not long ago, a couple months ago, it's coming off of the year in 2001 starting, or sorry, 2001, wishful thinking, 2021 was starting. Dating myself there. Yeah, so 2021 was starting, and I was just, coming off of the holidays and I, my move, and moved to a new house, and I was evaluating whether I wanted to even continue this podcast. And it wasn't because I didn't love doing it. It's just the the work that was involved, and just there is a sense of disappointment because you do look at the numbers, right? And the money that's coming in from a book or a pot, or the downloads or whatever. But a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, was very supportive and said, yes, the numbers matter, but that's not why you do this. You don't do this because you think it's gonna, you can retire on it. So I that's why I think that you are a true authentic, because I know that this does come from your heart and soul. So tell me, can you describe for me what is a squashed, just kind of generally, what is a squashed person? And I'm gonna, I don't even know if I need to take notes, because you're probably going to describe me partly. So.
And me. I obviously have done a huge amount of work on unsquashing, but there are still moments where I'm well in touch with my squash self. But the thing is, the self-awareness is the big unlocking key here. There's no question, because anyone who says you can get rid of these various little inner critic demons and spirals of self-doubt that bash you in the head is talking rubbish.
No, they just grow. There's more of them, Trisha. They continue to become more and more, like they multiply.
So your best tool is spotting them quick. Okay, yip up, war, I saw you. And the other one is knowledge of the human brain, basically. And I'm quite geeky about this. I randomly spent 10 years as freelance, this was, delivering what is called reminiscence to elderly people with dementia. And the connection here is that I was fascinated. It was an amazing experience, actually. Not depressing, really. There were moments, but generally it was joyful, because I was the lucky one that got to go into care homes to do something nice. And
what is reminiscence? Can you?
Well, reminiscence is, and the connection here is the brain. So this is where I got really geeky about the brain, because I thought, gee, it's, when bits aren't it's,
you should patent that, by the way, that but ooh, you need to trademark that. It's perfect.
I started, it evolved again, that word keeps coming up. So from my portfolio actor career, I was doing lots of one-woman plays and shows and performance pieces, a mix. Some of them were entertaining, some of them were theatrical. Anyway, I was involved with some rural touring networks, and one of them was the Hampshire County Council rural touring, and that's a huge county if anyone knows the UK. And I was commissioned by them, because they knew me from doing the theatre stuff, to write a piece for all their care homes as part of an Active Hearts program that they had got funded and all the rest of it, that was going to go out, and they were going to have kind of proper quality entertainers. And I started off just by doing a 1950s show, which had music, costume,
Aw.
props, story, everything. Went down really well. And then it evolved into doing what, if you like, is kind of pure reminiscence, which was taking in, I wasn't dressed up or anything, so taking in boxes of bits and bobs on themes. Actually, I used to theme it. We sat round and people would get to hold these things, touch them. There'd be some music, there'd be possibly poetry, pictures, photos, and stories would evolve out of people's lovely tangled brains that just got triggered. Basically, it's facilitating, and boy, was that was mind-blowing. And so over that process of time, I was still doing the speaker stuff, the entertainer. I really got fascinated by the brain. And I think, so that's the second stage to me. So self-awareness, spot the triggers. Second step, understand that you're not alone. This is so human.
Oh my God.
And this is why brain tricks us somewhat. It's not the brain's fault. It's, it's only doing what it can here.
Right, right.
It's it's working with a few sort of embedded, they said something rude, oh, you don't mind rude stuff, from baggage and all the rest of it. So all of that, and then action, step by step. I'm gonna take this step. I'm gonna say no instead of saying yes on this occasion. I'm gonna be up for a bit of rejection or whatever it is, something that just builds those sort of unsquasher muscles, basically, because I talk about it as self-squashing, because obviously we are fundamentally doing this to ourselves. We've got society, we've got our baggage, we've got people around us, of course, who are very brilliant at helping with the squashing if we let them, and society and the messages. But if we let them, I mean, that's the point. We ultimately, guess what?
Why do you think we do? I mean, why do you, and you're so spot on, because I mean, I struggle with it myself, and I know so many people do. And, we consider ourselves, many of us, pretty smart and self-aware. And yet so why do you think that is, that we're, even being so self-aware, that it's so hard for us to do that? And why, and, what are some of the factors that, make a person like myself feel like, oh my God, why is it that I cannot just.
But it is people like yourself. It is, I mean, to be perfectly blunt about it, if you're not a thinker, you're not going to be thinking this. so you're pretty much released from.
I think that's a
all
compliment.
Of this. It's a compliment, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, this, creative, sensitive, thinking. I mean, these are not bad things.
Right.
The problem is that to have that bounty of wonderfulness, you do have a little price to pay, which is probably a greater percentage of your head battling with these various overthinking, over assuming, over self-conscious, over sort of ego-driven, oversensitivity. You've got triggers that come from way back when, and you hear this person say this thing, or you just see somebody's facial expression. You don't even have to have words come out of their mouth, and you think, oh, they don't like me.
That was God rest her soul, but that was my mom. Sometimes just being in the same room, I was like, why are we just? And she was a wonderful woman. I loved her dearly, but sometimes I would be in the same room with her and just think,
I don't like me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think we like each other very much.
That is so familiar. And yes, there are all these things that we over. So we go to that place because we are, I mean, fundamentally, the thing that underlies all of this as humans is fear of rejection. Beth, it's as simple as that. When you really boil it down, we are all afraid of rejection. Yep. Because, survival instinct stuff says, that's it, you're out of the crowd, you're in the wilderness, you're going to starve. Good luck, right. We don't want you. Yeah. That's not nice. Nobody welcomes that. But the problem is that we're not in that world anymore. We're in a
No.
very complicated, very overcrowded, to be honest, confusing world, overstimulating over everything, as wonderful as it is. And therefore our fight against all of that, all of those triggers is greater, I have to say. So we have a responsibility to really work on this and to role model this for the younger generation who are bombarded by social media,
Right.
comparisonitis, and this is what it means to be loved and all of that stuff.
And who
So
and who and
we
who
just
might
have
not
to stand
have
strong. Yeah,
and who might not have learned like us when we didn't have all of the stimulus how
yeah.
to, even us. I mean, if we who didn't grow up with all of this, I can't even imagine what, the younger generation is going through right now
I know. So
with that.
I think one of the big things is fully owning your value, and don't get sucked in by some idea that equals success, that equals six-figure incomes or whatever the heck people always go on about. That any of those things, or having a flashy video on Instagram, I don't know, it's not anything to do with that. Owning your value can be the time, it's like all that stuff I did that I told you about, working with people with dementia. I really had to remind myself that just because I wasn't being paid much for that,
Right.
it didn't make it less valuable. And I still have to also remind myself that the skills that I have as an actor, okay, people say all these lovely things. Oh, it's British Treasure, come on, yeah, fantastic. Should be on TV. That was one that kept coming up. Blah, blah, blah. I had to really work at really, it wasn't that I didn't think I was any good. It was that I didn't see the value, because I think often the things that we do quite naturally well, that we've maybe worked at, or is just our thing, I don't know, we undervalue. And so we sort of dismiss it as, oh yeah, that old thing. Yeah, all right, I suppose I do that quite well. And that is not a good, that is not a good foundation for unsquashing. You have to
No.
go back in there and own it.
I mean, this is why I'm going to love your book, because you're so spot on. I mean, I circled fully own your value, and I do think, because I've talked a little about this from the corporate perspective about how the older we get, especially women, it's not exclusively women, but I think with men, it hits a little bit later because, women, then you have to use all the factors of how, how we're treated and, perceived, even though it's maybe subtle. But I think the older that we get, the more that sense of value becomes more and more important. At least I can say for myself and from the people that have fed back that in our youth, we kind of can slough it off, and I don't know, we're just so in our heads, we're just not thinking about it. But you get into your 40s, 50s, 60s, and all of a sudden, it's not even all of a sudden, it feels like it's all of a sudden, but it's probably pretty gradual that all of a, we start needing some sort of sense of value, sense of fulfillment that is so greater than a paycheck or what's put on a performance review, or and it becomes harder and harder to get that. So I think you nailed it.
Yeah, and I think thinking of when you were talking there made me think it's also, you said, so far in our own heads. And that's another thing I say quite a lot is get out of your head, which sounds very much like get off your head, which is another solution. But
Or off with your head, which is
but
another
that's
solution.
not what I'm advocating. Get out of your head is a thing that I repeat to myself, because the more, I know it sounds really corny, but this really works. This is a way of tricking your brain. The more you're present and curious and asking questions and able to react normally, like, so if you want to say something that's like a question that, if you're too far in your head, you'll be thinking, I won't ask that because it will make me look stupid. So you the more you twist that out, and you're so present that you don't even go through that bit of the thinking, you just simply ask the question, or you say, oh yeah, I'm useless at that. The more I know it sounds really weird, but the more you can do that sort of thing in a very normal way. Don't get me wrong, there are clearly levels you have to tweak, you have to adjust to context, where you are, etc. I'm not saying you just go like, oh, this is raw me all over the place. Yeah. I love the metaphor, analogy, or simile, yeah, one of those, of the mixer board, like you're in charge of it, so you own your kind of nice, lovely, raw, aligned, relaxed, authentic self, whatever you want to call it. But then you also own the mixer board, so, and once you realize you're in charge of this, and it's quite a good game you can play, oh, I'm going to be a little bit more like this at this situation, a
I
little bit
like
less
that. That's a great analogy. Now that's that kind of plays into, I think this is part of that concept that you have talked about in some videos recently, of this vulnerability weaving, right? That's where I love that. You're kind of using that mixer to dial down that, and nobody, I don't know that very many people are extreme. So, to your point, and you might be different in different situations. I'm going to be different sitting in front of a vice president at my day job a little bit. I mean, I'll still be myself, but I'll be a little bit different than I am, in front with my friends, or even in my podcast. So talk a little bit about this vulnerability weaving, because I love this term.
I know. I don't know why I like making phrases up and
You do. It's
words like
good. It's good.
squash self, and I just, it's my thing. And you know what? That's part of the journey I've been on, because I was much more bound into the more business-like words when I first started this journey 4 years ago. I've just like thrown them out of the window now,
Good. Thank
because
you.
nothing bad happened. Good
Yes.
stuff happened. So let's
And they're
embrace that.
boring and overused, and I love your stuff's much better. So
The vulnerability weaving is is answering the question, how much story should I share? We've got the message, use story. Story is so powerful, you have to use story. And people say, okay, I've got the message, use story. What do you mean use story? Do I tell them about where I grew up? Do I give them, do I have to tell them something really sad or dramatic, or no, let's just all calm down. What we're talking about here is using the vehicle of story, because it does have a magic power to it. It does get to places in your brain. The campfire kind of, oh, come in, I've got a story to tell you, is lovely. But that can be in the form of a sentence, that can be in the form of a tiny image or something. It doesn't need to be a long novel. And then if you've got what I call a story bank, okay, which at some time, have some fun, have a nice little journal book and start writing down just little paragraphs, go back as far as you can. And it's sometimes the silliest little stories, something that happened on holiday when you were a kid, but it's a brilliant way of illustrating a point. So you collect all these lovely stories, and then you get an opportunity to, you want to get a message out there that is relevant, will resonate, to do with either your business or the situation people are trying to sort, whatever it is. And you think, and I know a great way that I can add to this with a little story. Okay, so you go and pick this lovely little, and every time you do that, you are revealing a little bit more of you. So you are doing that. Yeah, you can get to know me. Yes, so I did grow up there. Yes, so I did go to that kind of school. Yes, so I have been married more than once. But you haven't laid
right,
it all out.
you haven't given your super secret diary accounts
it
to
out
everyone.
there.
So
I did. I read it. I yes. No, I'm not going to say anymore. There's a great story in the book that kind of illustrates how we get stuck in this sense of, well, I've either got to do this or nothing.
Right. Well, and I think that for me, as a receiver, for somebody, when people talk and bring in those little tidbits, and it can be just a little something that, a conversation is happening and you can relate to that, or for me, the receiver, it also makes me think, oh, okay, this person is receptive to opening up, and I learned a little, because I will tell you, I've known people who are so, I worked with a guy at my last job. He was a really nice guy. I loved him. but I knew nothing about him. And it was like 10 years before I even knew that that he even had a hobby, let alone what it was, right? Because I had no idea. And nor do I like, when I go to a restaurant and I get the waiter telling me their life story, and so, there's a good balance. So, well, I don't want us to get too far where I forget, because I would like you to talk a little bit. Can you tell us about Investigator Lewis?
Oh, well, I think that's a cue, isn't it?
Yes. I love,
So
I love a hat. So, even though I'm not
yeah,
wearing one.
exactly. I thought I can't have this chat with Beth without putting a hat on. That is a rule. So, um, which I got in a charity shop quite a while ago. It's a bit moth-eaten, but really does the job. It was sitting in a cupboard somewhere because I have quite a few bits of costume
Sure.
and props from, theatre career. And how this character evolved was pure. It's a great example of how you have to stay present and curious, okay? And don't give up. When you think everything's squashing you down, do not give up. Because if you're present, that moment will come which offers you the most gorgeous opportunity to do a huge bit of unsquashing. So this is how it happened. I was at a You Are the Media conference, which is a fabulous community I'm part of. And it was a couple of years back, the real thing, live people in a space. And I was having lunch. It was a whole day thing, lots of lovely speakers. And somebody called John Asperian, who's quite well known in
Yep.
LinkedIn world, he only knew me from online, only a little bit, but he introduced me to somebody called Janine Coombs.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah. I follow Janine.
yeah, and we sat at this table together, and Janine was a perfect role model of somebody who was a very intelligent woman who knew her craft, talks about marketing, that's her thing, who had used a vehicle of comedy to get her points across, dressing up, wigs, the lot. And I thought, and so we started laughing and bantering. We got on immediately, and John knew this was going to happen. He's not daft.
Yeah.
And it literally made me think, because they both said, go on, what's to lose? Because I said, I think I should bring out a bit more of my actor stuff in the business world, but I'm a bit, I don't know, people take me seriously. Go on, do it.
Get out of your head.
Yeah. So about a week later, I literally picked up this hat, put my tripod up, my phone on it, and I did this little communication tip, sort of in the voice of an old school private investigator. And it went beautifully on LinkedIn. And John Asperian was the first one to comment. He said, that's the way to do LinkedIn. And I thought, oh my gosh, it kind of is.
Yeah.
Now, look, I really want to put a really important thing here. That this is not me saying everybody out there needs to put a hat on and go and do some crazy video on. That's not the point. The point is, this was me.
Yep.
This actor was desperate to come out and was squashing inside. It was making me feel uncomfortable, like I was kind of betraying myself, selling my soul, couldn't do this business thing. How could I want to be an actor again? And then realized that I could combine and align all of this. Wow. So whatever your thing is, that's what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about, I'm really not talking about putting hats on, dressing up, doing anything.
Unless you want to. I'm a fan of that. I'm getting chills. I'm getting goosebumps when you say that. It's this great concept of aligning, your, what makes your heart sing, and bringing that stuff in that you don't think, I think it's Heidi Medina who says we need to get rid of should, and just, do what feels good and makes your heart sing. I love that you bring humor into everything. This is why I love you so much. Have you always been this funny and fun?
Okay, I think humor is fascinating. And just to finish that thread of thought, what happened then in terms of the book was aligned, because I ultimately then bought this character fully front of house for the book, with a book coach called Helen Pollock, who encouraged me. I said, you sure I could do the book in this it's a business book. Yes, she said, do
Oh,
it.
I'm a fan. I mean, yes. Anything.
Don't do it half-heartedly.
You
do
know what,
it.
Trisha, this is because people like me are so tired of the dry books. I mean, my book, Where the Hell is My Bacon, is a different genre. It's more leadership and corporate. But I just got so tired of the books that told people, here's how you deal with the change that's bad and that you didn't have any say in and that you probably should have had a say in. People are tired of that. They want to know, look, no, I want you to tell my story, not the leader, the vice president's story. And I think that's what you've done with
Yeah,
the mystery
yeah.
of the squash self.
I mean, the title of your book, I mean, it's just beautiful. And I'm partly vegan. I don't even eat bacon, but I just love that title. But humor, have I always? Yes. But what happened was I was squashed. Squash. I allowed myself to be squashed by, a very 1950s kind of upbringing, blah, 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 don't show off, especially the girls,
Oh, sure.
and then even as I was older, there was little comments like, well, she's an actor, as if to say,
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah,
Excuse
exactly.
me.
So I remember having a very silly sort of love of dressing up and playing make-believe games and all of that when I was really little. It sort of kept peeking out at odd points every now and then, but it was fundamentally caged, but having said which, it wasn't totally caged, because had I not been able to laugh, I would have been doing a lot of crying. Let's just say, I've been married 3 times. I have a fabulous husband now, and he's here to stay. But it hasn't been a straightforward journey. And I do believe that laughter, and also being able to laugh at myself, has been an absolute lifesaver. So for me, it's a big thing. But what happened was I didn't think that I could be silly. That whole childlike thing. And then you think, no, I can't be that because I'm supposed to be grown up.
I don't know. I'm a big vision board person, and I have a vision board that is just the silliness of my youth, because I want to make sure that I always keep that. So, absolutely. Well, Trisha, we're kind of getting near the half an hour mark. I think we're surpassed the half an hour mark. Thank you so much for joining today. It's just your humor, everything about you, your positivity, your authenticity, even though I hate the word. The fact that you can say rural. I can't even say rural. It's a very hard word to say, but very much looking forward to the mystery of the squash self and Investigator Lewis. Thank you so much for joining today. Before we go, let's tell everybody where they can find you and your book. I'll put some stuff in the notes.
Yeah, no, it's very, very simple. Trisha, for some reason I spell S-H-A, so it's a bit trendy, but there we go. Trisha Lewis, Lewis. There's a whole story actually just around my name, but we won't go there. So Trisha Lewis, all one word, .com is my website, and on there are my social media links. And I'm very kind of active and creative on Instagram and LinkedIn particularly. I've got a Facebook group now called the Unsquashers, which I've just started, and YouTube channel, and they're all on there. And I also, on there is the stuff about the book. There's extracts that you can listen to and read. There's lots of background information. And of course, as of Thursday, the 1st of April, there it is on Amazon as a Kindle or a paperback. Ta-da!
Wonderful. Well, mine's already on order, and we look forward to that and all of the wonders of the mystery of the squash self. Thank you so much for joining me today, Trisha. Appreciate it.
Thank you.